What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Parrot Press. This weekend is a big one. We are going for the $1,000 for Streak 4 in my Premier League. And in this video, I'm going to show you the lineups. I'm going to show you some of the cards that I bought specifically for that and what's been going on in the last couple of weeks as well. We know that international break is always a little bit of a lull. And there's been some really good things that's happened in that 2 weeks for me in terms of some crafts, in terms of some purchases, some good prices that I've picked up and stuff, and then we're going to go over all of that, should I say, in this video. But the first thing that I want to start off with is this guy here. You will see here that it's not owned by me, and that is because I sold basically my best card. I can't remember the actual fee that I paid or the price that I paid for this card. Will it actually tell me? Yeah, it will. Oh, there you go. No, that was not me. That's just the history of the card. Oh, it does tell us the trade. Perfect. So this was the trade that I made way back when, about a year ago. We've got Aspas in there, we've got Mendes, we've got Yeimar, and as you can see here, the floor prices are actually quite high at the moment because that's probably their new season cards. But when you look at the quality of the players that I actually traded for this, if you're an MLS follower, you'll know how good these cards are. Evander, Carlos Hill, Stefan Fry, Rossi, Rusnak, Benteke, Lloris, Yeimar. They are all quality players in the MLS. Now, I haven't followed it much this season, but I can guarantee, well, I can pretty much tell that there would still be some really good scorers. You can tell here by the 63 and Nizel, 15 to 61, etc. And look at Carlos Hill and Evander, 70 and 71. So I picked him up for a lot of money back then. And the reason why I chose to sell him now is because, one, I was a little bit afraid of the Saudi links, not going to lie. And I thought, you know, that £124, considering where I am in terms of the streaks, it would actually make more sense to try and buy some heavy hitters to try and hit those streaks, right, and get this $1,000, and then hopefully I can get onto next week and try and get that $5,000. That would be such a massive return in terms of what I've actually put into this game. We're probably getting it around about like 35-40% return, which would be amazing because I never thought that I would get that after, as we know, Sorare was changing the goalposts and all that type of stuff. But I sold my best player, which means that I had some money in the bank or in my account to go and pick up some other limited players and limited cards. And lastly, the other reason was because my rare cards they're not strong enough to be getting rewards week in and week out. So having a card like Bruno Fernandes just didn't really make sense to me in terms of my gallery. So we sold him and we made some well, we didn't make anything, did we? Let's have it right. It was a loss. But hey-ho. Then, the reason why I'm showing you Jordan Pickford, I'm a little bit nasally at the moment, so my bad. I've got some sinus problems. I'm sure everyone wants to know that. But Jordan Pickford, I wanted to buy this card. And then I had 1,000 Essence sitting there, and I thought, do you know what? Should I do a video on this? Or are people going to care if it's something shit? Then what an anticlimax. I should have done a video. Because this was a few weeks back as well. And I couldn't go. I had 100% that he was going to be a Premier League player, but I didn't have any clues. So I just went for it. I picked him, number 4. Jordan Pickford came out. And that was the star. It was a guaranteed star, whatever they call it, round or something. And I was so happy. At the time, he was going for about £90 as well. And to have somebody that you was going to buy anyway to then come into your gallery, that is always a good feeling. And then since then, he's had like a good few clean sheets for me. So Jordan comes into it. You know that I've already picked up Grealish. I already had Tarkowski. I already had Dwight McNeil. I know he doesn't play, but, you know. So I was beginning that collection anyway. So to have Pickford come in, yeah, superb. So let's move on to the next thing. I'm just going to take you back on my journey. Right, going from game week 1, going for streak 1, streak 2, and streak 3. And then I'm going to show you the lineups that I've gone for and some of the purchases that I made for the streak 4. So this was the first week. I had 2 lineups. You know, utilising my classic Bruno Fernandes, picked these guys up, and I will do another episode of on this channel around about how much I've spent on here and what the return is so far, right? But we had to get 360 points, and we got 362. So it could have all been over in game week 1, but it wasn't. We lived to fight another day. And then game week 3, so this is streak 2. We needed 380 points, right? And we absolutely smashed it, 430. Everton just turned up against Brighton, and Spurs done decent against Man City. And this was the lineup that I didn't think was going to get anywhere. And I love that about Sorare, is that sometimes the lineup that you put in, the lineup that you think is just dead in the water before it even starts, before we even start the game week, actually pulls it out of the bag for you. And this certainly did. So a little bit of luck there, considering I put all my eggs in this basket. You know, Forest against Palace. We had Manchester United against Fulham. We had Everton. Well, I used Tarkowski in this lineup because I thought that they was going to get a clean sheet, which they did. But I thought that he would potentially score off a set piece. But anyway, we got through it. We got through it in flying colours and got this 1,000 essence as well. And that might have been the 1,000 essence that I then pulled Pickford out of, and got myself a tenner in there as well. So moving on to streak 3. And again, this is where the luck comes into it, right? We needed 400 points. And as you can see here, I got 421. So you probably like what you're talking about. But if you remember, I don't want to, let's click into it, right? If you remember this game, does it tell you when they scored? No, they don't, which is annoying. If you remember this game, Manchester United got a penalty in the last couple of minutes for Bruno to step up and slot it in. Now, if Bruno, I knew it was going to do that. Let's go back to game week 5. If Bruno didn't have that penalty, and if I didn't have him as captain, I wasn't hitting this. Also, a last man tackle for Romero. Tottenham lost 1-0. You know, so for him to come up with a 78, very, very good. I thought Nottingham Forest was going to smash West Ham. They absolutely got smashed. So Morgan Gibbs-White has done nothing. He's done nothing since he's been in my gallery, actually, which is quite annoying. But very lucky. Literally 1 minute turn. So if you think about game week 1, you think about game week 3. I've been lucky to even get to this point. And you need luck in Sorare, right? The other lineups were pretty shit. Grealish smashed it. Should have Grealish been in this lineup against Wolves, maybe, but then I thought Forest against West Ham. That's a good lineup, and he was nowhere going to take over from Bruno against Burnley. Anyway, here we are. Streak 4. We are going for the $1,000. And this is what it looks like. You're going to see new faces in here. We've got, let's do it one by one. So this is my Division 1 team. New faces. Casido comes in. Bought him. And bearing in mind, you know, streak 1 was, what was it? 25. Streak 2 was 50. And then streak 3 was 250. So all of that money has basically been reinvested into these signings. We've got Van Dijk in there. And we've got a classic Salah. Now, I would like to have had an in-season Salah. But so I could play with him with my classic Bruno and things like that. But I just can't afford it at the moment. Don't want to be putting more money into this game yet because I want to be winning money, not losing it. Romero and Vicario come in as that stack against West Ham. I'm still unsure about that, and I'll come to that in a minute when I show you the other lineup. It'd be good to hear your thoughts in the comments down below as to whether I should be switching these two out. But Van Dijk comes in, Salah comes in, as I said. They're playing Burnley, so I expect a good result there for Liverpool. Got Salah with the armband on there. I expect him to score. But I did see a stat on Salah. Apparently, he is only, in the last 10 times playing Burnley, he's only scored once or something. So hopefully that's going to change. And then, as I said, we've got Caicedo coming in, so against Brentford in there as well. And what I went for here was people that can, or players that can have decent AA. So we know Romero has a 25 average or whatever it is AA. Same thing with Van Dijk, same thing with Caicedo. And all we need is one or two little decisives. And it's going to creep us up over that mark. Because remember, we've got to get this 420 points out of this lineup. So that's lineup 1 in Division 1. Lineup 2. This is where I was umming and ahhing because originally I had this planned as Pickford and Grealish in that first lineup with Vicario and Romero in this lineup. But then I've gone very heavy on Spurs here. And so I just thought, well, Romero, he normally gets their AA, and I'm unsure about this fixture for Everton. I know they're at home, Grealish against his old club, but Villa has surely got to turn the ship around at some point. And I see this being quite a low-scoring game. And it could be a 1-0 away win. It could be a 1-0 home win. I think it's going to be low-scoring. So I went with Vicario and Romero in lineup 1. Leave a comment down below, as I said, as to whether I should be switching this back. But I feel that though this is a strong lineup. We've got Pickford, we've got Grealish, we've got Bruno Fernandes. Although he's playing Man City, he normally does well against Manchester City. And we know that Bruno does like to get his AA in there as well. And then we've got the Tottenham boys in here, Kudos and Porro. Porro's had a really bad start to the season, so I need him to turn a corner a little bit on that. And then Kudos against his old team, he's going to get booed the hell out of. Hopefully he can just silence the crowd a little bit and come up with a decisive. I'm in an ahhing about changing him as well in this lineup to the person who's in my third lineup, and that is Mbeumo. Now, Mbeumo again against City, but would it make more sense to pair Bruno and Mbeumo and have that attacking stack? Maybe not. I do like having a defensive stack. I do like having a midfield and an attacker stack sometimes, but Kudos against West Ham or Mbeumo against Manchester City, if you just look at it on one-on-one, it's probably Kudos against West Ham in my opinion. But again, leave a comment down below. Then we've got the Romero Classic card coming in as well. Exactly what I said earlier. I'm looking for people with that AA game. And if they can get a decisive on the back of it, then obviously you're shooting up. And that's what we need. We need those spikes in order to get this 420. And this is why I've also bought in Munoz and Tonoli and Leno as well. Because, excuse me, Leno's next 2 fixtures. So I'm planning ahead as well. Hopefully that I can just get this streak in and then move on to the next one. But his next 2 fixtures against Leeds at home, and I think it's against Brentford. And Leno can have those spikes. I don't expect Fulham to concede against Leeds. Leeds have started okay in terms of the first game of the season that they had to win, but I don't see them scoring against Fulham. So I've kind of, in this lineup, I've actually gone for the fixtures more than anything. Maybe not with the top 2 actually, but originally I did, because I had Robinson in here as well. I think Anthony Robinson starts this weekend, but I can't take the risk when I'm trying to go for a streak. So then that would mean that Romero comes out, Robinson goes in, and then I'll probably play a classic card up top or something like that. But I've gone for fixtures. Munoz against Sunderland, Leno against Leeds. We've got Tonali coming in here. We know that he has decent AA. He takes some of their set pieces, and I expect Newcastle to absolutely smash Wolves, especially being at home with their new signings coming in. I think that they're going to get their season on track from now, and the Isak situation is now just been and gone. And then we've already spoke about Romero and his AA. And this is what I'm actually liking at the moment, because I think I'm going to do this quite a lot throughout the season, is jump in and out of cards. Historically, you were spending so much money on some of the cards, especially at the rare level. The top boys, as I said, about 900 quid or whatever it was for Bruno Fernandes at the time. And you're kind of like forced to play them. You think, well, I've spent all that money, I have to play them. And then, depending on what budget you've got, you might then have a smaller gallery. And if you've got a smaller gallery, you can't just be jumping in and out of cards all the time because you're losing value. But also, there's a risk with all of that. And there's not as much risk with limited. All right, we're at the beginning of the season. I get that some of the prices are going to go down. Is Tonali going to be £40? Or what did I end up paying for him? Can I get to that from here? Well, his instant buy at the moment is 61. Public offer is 46. I paid £39. So yeah, 40 quid. So is he going to be 40 quid in 2 weeks' time? No, he's not. He's probably going to be more like 22, 23 pound. But as I said, I'm going all in on this game week to try and make sure that I hit that $1,000 streak, and I've gone with lineups in some of this stuff, which is exciting. It's a way that I've never played Sorare before, to be quite honest with you. And then that's enabled us to also, because I've picked up some of those extra cards, where I picked up a Dewsbury Hall as well. If we look at Dewsbury Hall, by the way, let's just open that up. You see here for Everton, so I would like it to adjust. I know it grays it out, but I would like it to just like remove them totally. But if you see here, 52, so he's obviously got a nearly a 20 AA game. With this one, he had a decisive score, a negative one, should I say. But look at his AA again, it's 20 points. If he didn't have that, again, it's another like 55 or whatever it would be with the XP on top game. And then he's come out with an assist and a goal against Wolves as well, with his AA being 14 again. I think that he's going to have a really good season. Next to Grealish and next to Ndiaye, yeah, I think it's going to be good. But as I said, I think it's going to be a low scoring one. So if it is, I've kind of just stacked these guys together. If it is going to be a 1-0 Everton win, I fancy Grealish to be amongst it, which is why he's not in this lineup, because it might make sense to put Grealish in here, take out Morgan Gibbs-White and just go for it in terms of, Everton go out there and do well. But I'm deciding to split them. The one that I don't know about is Morgan Gibbs-White against Arsenal. Obviously, that's a really tough game, but I'm kind of sucked back in because he takes some of their set pieces. And, if there's a penalty or something like that, he's probably going to be stepping up. So to try and get that decisive, is he more likely than somebody like a Palhinha at Spurs? Maybe. So this is the final lineup. So this is what it looks like. This is what I'm going for. And fingers crossed we can actually hit that $1,000. But what would you change? Would you change Romero and Vicario for Pickford and Grealish in this lineup? Does that seem stronger, or just go with the stack? Because Thomas Frank away from home is very, very good. He sets up not to lose, but to play on that counter. And I think he's at Brentford in one season, it might have even been last season, he was better away than he was at home. So that's kind of crept into my mind as well. Would you change Kudos with Mbeumo? What would you do? But this is what I'm going for, and fingers crossed for it. That's it, right? That's it. That's what it looks like. Are we going to do it? I wonder how many other people actually. Leave a comment down below if you're going for Streak 4 and what your lap's going to be. Because I don't know how many. They should publish that somewhere. And maybe they already have. But how many managers are now actually going for this Streak 4 across all the competitions? That would be really interesting to find out. But thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you are new around here, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. And as always, guys, I'll see you in the future.